There's one thing wealthy people know that most don't. When someone is truly rich, they don't need to prove it to anyone. But what happens when a multi-millionaire businessman walks into a luxury hotel wearing sweatpants? The answer is shocking. This is the story of how a simple misunderstanding changed an entire company's future, and why judging someone by their appearance is the biggest mistake you can make. Marcus Thompson didn't look like a multimillionaire. That morning, he left home wearing worn sweatpants and a simple hooded sweatshirt. He had spent 25 years building his tech company from nothing and never cared about appearances. Why would he? His bank account spoke for itself. But on this Saturday morning, he had a simple task to complete. His wife's birthday was approaching, and he wanted to buy her something special. An exclusive Swiss watch that was only sold at one jewelry store on the ground floor of the city's most expensive hotel. The Grand Lux Hotel stood in the heart of the city, an imposing building where only the wealthiest stayed. As Marcus entered the marble-covered lobby, he immediately felt eyes on him. The doorman eyed him suspiciously, and the receptionists glanced at each other. Emma, one of the receptionists, stepped closer to her colleague. "Look at that guy," she whispered. "He looks like he wandered in by mistake." Meanwhile, Marcus calmly looked around the hotel lobby. He had known about this place for years, though he had never stayed here personally. He knew this was where the only jewelry store in the city that carried his wife's favorite watch brand was located. When he approached the jewelry store, one of the receptionists, David, finally walked over to him. "Excuse me, sir," he said with a slightly condescending tone. "Can I help you with something?" Marcus smiled. "Yes, I'd like to buy a watch." From the Patek Philippe Complications series. David's eyes widened. This series started at $40,000. "Oh well," he stammered. "This is quite an expensive collection. Are you sure that—" "Yes, I'm sure," Marcus interrupted calmly. David felt uncomfortable. The man in front of him didn't look at all like someone who could spend such amounts on a watch. He made a decision. "You know what, sir? Maybe you should check out other stores. Everything here costs tens of thousands of dollars, and I wouldn't want you to get into an awkward situation." Marcus raised his eyebrows. "Awkward situation? Well, you know." David looked around, then continued loudly enough for the other reception staff to hear. "This is a premium hotel. Maybe you'd find something at the shopping center that better fits your price range." The lobby fell silent. Every eye was focused on Marcus, who was still smiling. "Stop right here for a moment. What would you do in this situation? Would you shout? Make threats?" Marcus's choice exceeded all expectations. "I see," Marcus said slowly. "So in your opinion, I don't look like someone who could afford these watches?" David's chest puffed out. "Well, honestly speaking, not really." Marcus nodded. "All right. Then perhaps I could speak with the general manager?" "The general manager is busy right now," Emma replied, stepping next to David. "But if you'd like, you can leave a message." "No, that's not necessary," Marcus said, pulling out his phone. "I'll just call the owner instead." The reception staff laughed loudly. "The owner?" David chuckled. "Yeah, sure. Victoria Sterling is a very busy person. I don't think she'd answer a random call." Marcus dialed a number and waited. A few seconds later, someone picked up. "Victoria, it's Marcus," he said warmly. "I'm at your hotel right now and a little situation has developed." The lobby fell completely silent. David's face went pale as Marcus continued the conversation. "Yes, at the Grand Lux. Exactly. I wanted to buy a watch, but it seems your staff don't think I look wealthy enough for it." Marcus waited for a moment, then laughed loudly. "Yeah, I thought so too. Okay, thanks. You'll be here in 5 minutes." He hung up and put the phone back in his pocket. "Victoria Sterling will be here in 5 minutes. In the meantime, perhaps I can wait?" David could barely get the words out. You really know Victoria Sterling?" "For 25 years, Marcus replied calmly. "We were roommates in college." Victoria Sterling rushed into the hotel lobby exactly 5 minutes later. She was a tall, elegant woman who immediately embraced Marcus. "Marcus! I haven't seen you in ages. I'm so sorry you had to deal with this situation in my hotel." Then Victoria looked around, and her gaze was devastating. "David, Emma, my office, right now." The employees walked toward the office with downcast eyes, while Victoria turned back to Marcus. "Which watch did you want to see?" Marcus showed her which watch he wanted to buy. A beautiful Patek Philippe that cost $56,000. Victoria personally escorted him to the jewelry store and showed every detail. "This will be perfect for Jennifer's birthday," Marcus said, while admiring the watch. "Could you wrap it for me?" "Of course. And Marcus, you're a guest of the house. The watch is a gift." Marcus shook his head. "Victoria, this is a $56,000 watch. I'll pay for it." "No, my friend. It's the least I can do for how you were treated today." While Victoria handled the packaging, Marcus looked around the hotel lobby. It was a beautiful place, but he noticed something. The hotel was half empty, Saturday morning, and there were hardly any guests. "Victoria," Marcus spoke up, "how's business going?" Victoria sighed. "If I'm being honest, not very well. We've been struggling since the pandemic. People stay home and fewer travel to luxury hotels." "How bad is the situation?" Victoria hesitated, then decided to be honest with her old friend. "Pretty bad. If we don't turn things around in the next 6 months, I'll have to close." Marcus thought for a moment. "And your staff? Have they been working here long?" "David for 3 years, Emma for 2. They're actually good, just prejudiced," Marcus finished. And here comes the twist nobody expected. The next Monday, Victoria woke up to an early phone call. It was Marcus. "Victoria, I've been thinking about this. I have a proposal. I'm listening. Will you sell me the hotel?" Victoria was surprised into silence. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Send me the financial data and I'll make an offer." By afternoon, Marcus's lawyers had reviewed the documents. That evening, Marcus called Victoria. $15 million, cash. The transaction can happen tomorrow." Victoria couldn't believe her ears. "Marcus, this is incredible. But are you sure?" "Completely. However, I have one condition." "What is it?" "David and Emma submit their resignations today. I won't work with people who judge others based on appearances. The truly wealthy don't make threats. They don't shout. They simply act." And Marcus Thompson had just shown what that really means. Tuesday, David and Emma came to work, still feeling uncomfortable about Saturday's incident. Victoria called everyone to a meeting. "I sold the hotel last night," Victoria announced. Everyone was stunned. "To whom?" Emma asked. "To Marcus Thompson. The man you served so nicely on Saturday." David's mouth fell open. "He bought the entire hotel." "The entire building," Victoria corrected. "And his first instruction was that both of you resign." Emma started crying. "But Victoria," This can't be serious." "It was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake," a voice interrupted from the doorway. Marcus entered, now wearing a suit and tie. He looked completely different. "You lost your jobs because you thought you could judge people based on their appearance. This is a luxury hotel where service quality matters, and you failed the simplest test." Marcus looked around the lobby. "I'm going to transform this place. It will be a hotel where every guest is treated with respect, regardless of how they look." Victoria watched her old friend curiously. "What are you planning?" "First, new staff. I'll hire employees who understand that luxury isn't about excluding people, but about making every guest feel special." Marcus walked to the large window overlooking the street. "Second, I'm going to change the hotel's culture. No more prejudice, no more rejection based on appearance." "You know," Marcus continued, still looking at the street, "this isn't the first time I've been in this situation. When I was young, building my company, I was judged countless times because of how I looked." He turned toward Victoria. "Do you remember our college years? I wore sweatpants and t-shirts then too, but my clothes never defined who I was." "Yes, I remember," Victoria said. "Even then, we knew you were destined for great things. The difference is that you never judged me based on my appearance. That's why we've remained friends for 25 years." Marcus sat in one of the armchairs. "I learned in business that real value comes from within. A company doesn't become successful because of how beautiful its office is or how expensive its logo is. It becomes successful because of the value it creates." "And this hotel?" Victoria asked. "This hotel will now create value like nothing they've ever seen. Every guest will leave here feeling special, not because they used expensive services, but because they were treated like human beings." But the real power of Marcus's story doesn't lie in buying the hotel. The deeper message is much more important and can affect every single person's life. In the modern world, we're inclined to judge people immediately based on their appearance. But think about it. How many opportunities do we miss because we draw conclusions too quickly? How many potential business partners, friends, or guests do we reject because they don't meet our expectations? Marcus's case perfectly illustrates this problem. A multimillionaire businessman who spent 25 years building a tech empire was still treated like a beggar just because he wore sweatpants. This story goes beyond a simple hotel incident. It reflects a deeper social problem. In modern societies, we often determine people's status based on appearances. But what about those who consciously choose simplicity? What about those who don't feel the need to flaunt their wealth? Marcus Thompson was exactly that kind of person. This is actually a well-known phenomenon among tech industry workers. Think about Mark Zuckerberg, who almost always appears in the same gray t-shirt, or Steve Jobs, who wore the same black turtleneck and jeans for years. These people figured out something most of us don't understand. True power doesn't lie in how expensive our clothes are, but in what we create and how we change the world. Marcus's decision to buy the hotel wasn't revenge. It was meant as a lesson. He showed that real power doesn't lie in shouting or making threats. Real power lies in being able to act. When David and Emma looked down on him, Marcus didn't shout or threaten. He simply picked up the phone and solved the problem. This is the difference between truly successful people and average people. Truly successful people don't waste time convincing others that they're successful. Instead, they prove it with actions. David and Emma's reaction was typical. When they found out whom they had rejected, they tried to find excuses. But Marcus made it clear that there's no excuse for prejudice. This wasn't a mistake, he told them. This is a character issue, and your character failed the test. This attitude might seem harsh, but it's actually an important lesson. Service industry workers have a responsibility to treat every guest with equal respect. If you look at the world's most successful hotels, you'll find this principle in all of them. The Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, the Mandarin Oriental. These hotels all built their success on treating every guest equally. Marcus's vision for the hotel was more than a business decision. It was a social mission. He wanted to create a place where no one would be judged based on their appearance. Every person deserves respect, he told his new employees at their first meeting. It doesn't matter if they wear sweatpants or an Armani suit. Our job is to provide everyone with the same excellent service. This principle soon bore fruit. Word about the hotel began spreading throughout the city. People talked about being treated differently here. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. We bring inspiring stories like this every week that can change your perspective on success and life. Interestingly, Marcus's decision didn't just affect the hotel, but the entire luxury hospitality sector in the city. Other hotels also began reconsidering their service philosophy. A local 5-star hotel manager said later, "Marcus's story made us rethink how we treat guests. We realized we had made mistakes too." This shows how one person's decision can start a chain reaction. Marcus didn't just buy a hotel. He forced an entire industry to examine itself. For Marcus, this whole story wasn't about money. He was long past the point where buying a hotel would affect him financially. This was about satisfaction. It's not about revenge, he explained in a later interview. It's about proving that our character is more important than our appearance. This mentality distinguishes truly successful people from those who just chase money. Marcus had long learned that money is just a tool, not a goal. Months after the incident, the Grand Lux Hotel was completely transformed. The new staff worked with a different mindset, and this showed in the results. The hotel's occupancy increased by 40% in the first quarter. More importantly, guest satisfaction rose from the previous 60% to over 95%. The difference is simple, the new manager said. Now we focus on making every guest feel good, not on judging them. David and Emma's story didn't end with their resignations either. Both learned from their mistake, though they took different paths. David entered a training program where he learned how to treat guests without prejudice. After 6 months, he got a job at another luxury hotel, where he applied what he had learned. Emma had a harder time processing the incident. She struggled for months to find work because word had spread around the city. Eventually, she found employment at a nonprofit organization working with disadvantaged youth. "This incident changed my life," Emma said later. "I realized what damage prejudices cause, and now I work to teach others about this." Marcus's story shows that everything can change in an instant. David and Emma lost their jobs because of one bad decision. Marcus bought an entire hotel because of one bad experience. But the most important lesson is that every interaction matters. We never know who we're dealing with. The person we look down on today might be our boss tomorrow. Everyone we meet is fighting some battle we know nothing about, Marcus said. The least we can do is approach them with kindness. This story also shows that money's real power doesn't lie in what we can buy. Money's real power lies in how we can use it to create change. Marcus didn't buy the hotel to show how wealthy he was. He bought it to send a message. Human dignity is worth more than any amount of money. Wealth comes with responsibility, Marcus said. If I have the opportunity to create change, then I must do it. Today, The Grand Lux Hotel is one of the city's most successful luxury hotels. Marcus didn't just buy it, he completely transformed its culture. The new management philosophy is simple. Every guest is equally important. It doesn't matter how much money they spend or how they look. Everyone receives the same respect and attention. This philosophy isn't just ethically correct, but also commercially successful. The hotel's profit doubled in the first year and continues to grow. For Marcus, this entire experience was also a learning process. Although he was the winner in this situation, he also learned a lot from it. "I realized that even negative experiences can provide valuable lessons," he said. "This incident confirmed that I'm on the right path in life." This attitude is characteristic of successful people. They don't fear problems but see opportunities for growth and change in them. But there's one more thing you need to know from Marcus's story. Something that applies to all our lives, regardless of how wealthy or poor we are. The truth is, we all judge. Every day. When we see someone on the street, we automatically make assumptions about them. This is human nature. But the difference lies in what we do with these judgments. Marcus's story shows that real strength lies in being able to move beyond our first impressions, in being able to see potential in every person, regardless of how they look. This isn't just an ethical issue, it's also a strategic advantage. Those people and companies that can move beyond prejudices will find many more opportunities. Think about it. How many brilliant business ideas do you miss because the person suggesting them doesn't look like what you'd expect? How many talented employees does a company deprive itself of because the HR department judges based on names on resumes? Marcus's story isn't just about a rich man's revenge. It's a mirror held up to every single person. And the question is, what do you see when you look into it? True luxury doesn't lie in how expensive things we can buy. True luxury lies in how much we can respect each other, regardless of our status or appearance. Marcus Thompson's story didn't end with buying the hotel. 3 months later, he received an unexpected phone call. It was David on the other end. "Mr. Thompson, this is David. I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but I want to thank you." Marcus listened in surprise. "Your lesson changed my life. I see people differently now, and I have a question." "I'm listening. Would there be a place at your new hotel for someone who learned from his mistake?" Marcus thought for a moment. Then he slowly smiled. "I'll expect you in my office tomorrow at 2 p.m., but David..." "Yes, sir?"
"This time, don't judge me by my clothes."
And you know what? Marcus hired David because he believed that people can change. But what happened next between David and Marcus? Well, that's a story for another time.